Hello rail fans, we've got a little video here that we did yesterday. We took a run down the Norfolk Southern CNO&TP district from Rockwood, Tennessee down to Soddy Daisy. We actually took it all the way to Chattanooga, but got trains at these two locations. First up here, we've got Rockwood, Tennessee, right off US 27. So this first train up is NS189. NS189 goes from Detroit, Michigan down to East Point, Georgia, just outside Atlanta. It's rated as a general manifest train, which kind of interesting. As you see here, almost the entire train is auto racks. About a third of the way, not quite a halfway through the train here, you're going to see two hopper cars, and then it flows back to auto racks the entire rest of the train. So I guess by inserting a couple hoppers in the middle, this train took on the designation of a general manifest train. Not sure if that's the way it generally runs, or if this was just the freight that was available on this day to make this train up. Had a pretty interesting time here in Rockwood. We actually sat and watched two trains come by. Rockwood is a really good railfan location. Obviously this is a busy train line, but the nice part about Rockwood is that there are defect detectors to the north and south end of town. It had about a 5-mile heads up on the one from the northbound side of town, and then I believe it was about 4 miles to the one on the south side. So you're going to get a pretty good heads up. We were able to pick them both up on the scanner. I really had good luck with NS yesterday. Normally we have a tough time finding the appropriate scanner channel, but in this region the channel is AAR 31, and I'll put that in the comments, or in the subject of the video, so that you guys have it if you ever go out to railfan that line. But it appears that they've made a couple changes the last 2 years to their radio frequencies in this area, so I was happy that we were able to pick that up. But again, really good to get that heads up. We're plenty of time to get in position, no rush, and so it worked out really well. So next up here we've got NS171, which is a general manifest train from Conway, Pennsylvania, down to Butts Yard in Chattanooga, Tennessee. While we were waiting in between the appearance of 189 and 171, we had a car pull up across the street from us and a gentleman walk over, and actually one of those occasions when you're out on the lines when you truly meet somebody that you consider to be a new friend. Met a gentleman named JD who was a retired Norfolk Southern employee. Him and his wife were in town because they're making a move from the Alabama area up to Tennessee, and so we've exchanged a few emails already, and shared some great stories, and so it was really fun to meet him. He takes some great railroad photography, and caught this same train a little further south off a bridge and sent me the picture. It turned out really good for him. So a little bit more information about the CNO&TP. The line's actually named the Cincinnati, New Orleans, and Texas Pacific Railway. Was built by the city of Cincinnati. It's the only long-distance rail line owned by a municipality. And so the city of Cincinnati, back in the 1800s, recognized a need to develop a freight system to move product to the south as well as passengers. So the history of the city of Cincinnati, obviously built right on the banks of the Ohio River. In its early days, it was formed in 1788. You know, it relied on river traffic for a lot of shipping, a lot of commerce. And as the 1800s rolled on and railroads became prevalent, they definitely saw a need to set themselves up for the future. So in 1869, they took out 10 million in municipal bonds and began construction of a 337-mile railway leading from Cincinnati down to Chattanooga. Um, and as they moved on, they had to build lots of tunnels, lots of bridges. Costs began to overrun, so they took out another 6 million in bonds. So all told, it was about a $16 million construction project. Um, the line opened in 1880, so it took about 11 years from the start of the project to the end. The line continues to this day to be owned by the city of Cincinnati. It is leased to Norfolk Southern through an agreement that originally was struck with the Southern Railway. They're on 25-year lease cycles, and I believe the current one expires in 2026. So Norfolk Southern leases the railway from Cincinnati. From what I understand, it's a pretty low-cost lease, and we'll talk a little bit more about that on some of these next trains coming up. So next up, we moved south to Soddy, Tennessee, and jumped off 27 to this little location here where the road kinks across the tracks. And here we encountered our friend NS189 again. We had passed both him and 171 as we made our way to the south. So again, a very heavy traffic line. We also ran into a couple of different northbound trains, but honestly they were moving so fast that by the time we got in position to try to capture them, they were already by us. The first one, we were coming into a small town, and we saw the train, what appeared to be at least a half-mile down the track, pulled immediately into a parking space, jumped out, grabbed the camera, and the lead locomotives were already past me before I could get the camera even turned on. So very, very fast moving, especially as you get out into some of the more rural areas on this line. Second one was a stack train we saw coming north, and we just didn't have a good place to pull off. It was interesting, and sometimes you see some different and more interesting traffic on NS than we typically do here in Nashville on the CSX lines. From our CSX experiences, normally when you see a stack or intermodal train, that's what the entire consist is made up of. It appeared that this Norfolk Southern train was also pulling some tanker cars, either empty oil, ethanol, something like that, pulling those back to the north as well on the rear of that stack train. So back a little bit more about this rail line. You know, as I mentioned, the city of Cincinnati still owns it, leases it to Norfolk Southern. Norfolk Southern's responsible for maintenance on the line. They also own and maintain all their own yards on the line. Throughout the early and mid 1900s, the Southern Railway took on a huge effort to sunlight many of the tunnels, or all of the tunnels, on this rail line. The original tunnels were not large enough to handle the larger trains and taller trains that were coming, and presented all kinds of maintenance issues. So at their expense, they completed that. The line's affectionately known as the Rat Hole Line because of all of those tunnels. The railway workers originally started calling it that because of all the issues they would run into. So one, disputed fact I guess I'll throw out about this rail line, being from Cincinnati and kind of proud of the city of Cincinnati's ownership of this and their willingness to take the gamble to try to secure some future commerce. Theoretically, if you take all of this rail line, because it is owned by a municipal city, and you add it to the property of the city of Cincinnati, it makes Cincinnati the largest municipality in the entire world. Now, don't come at me in the comments. I'm sure that's much disputed out there, because theoretically they don't, um, you know, there's no homes or anything like that off the rail line or anything like that that would belong to them. But it is a technicality, and seems like it is a true statement. So kind of interesting, and just one more neat thing about this rail line. And last up here for us, we've got NS170 headed north. This is the counterpart to 171, so this one's going to go from Chattanooga up to Conway, Pennsylvania. So after this train comes by, we left this location, headed south into Chattanooga. We actually ran into 189 again, stopped on the 10 bridge across the river in Chattanooga. And so we weren't able to film a train on that bridge. We had the drone with us and had hopes that we might be able to catch something up there, but that was stopped and blocking the view on our side of the bridge. We then went south to the Chattanooga, or the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum. They're outside Chattanooga. Beautiful complex. Again, another place that I wish I could fly the drone up and around. Didn't ask anybody if I could. May have been able to get permission to do that, but was pretty busy. A lot of people walking around looking at the train cars, and just not a risk I wanted any part of. So we did get several still photographs, went in, looked at the gift shop. They were actually running their excursion train. Even in COVID, they've got a lot of rules and ground rules set in place, but something that we just didn't feel comfortable doing. Especially as the pandemic rages on here. So definitely post-COVID, that's somewhere we'll go back and take advantage of that ride. Looked like a pretty cool little, basically hour-long excursion ride. We then went down to DeButt's yard, drove around to the locomotive shop, saw tons, and I mean tons, probably almost 100 older Norfolk Southern locomotives sitting around, in various states of storage, or being worked on, and parts taken off of them for other trains. We then drove over to the CSX yard, and I'm sure I'm going to butcher the way to say this name, but Watachi. And so, if I've done that wrong, please comment and let me know. Saw a pretty cool stack train leaving there, headed somewhere to the north or northeast. Something I've not seen, don't generally see, but on the rear of that were a bunch of flat cars that had 4 or 5 container trailer, the actual road trailers, the frames that you put the container trailers on, had them stacked and strapped on top of those rail cars to take them somewhere else. Then from there, we made our way back up the Chattanooga subdivision back towards Nashville. Saw the rear of Q584. Tried to catch up to it at Bridgeport just as we pulled into town. The rear of it went by again. So we weren't able to capture any trains on the way home, but still a pretty good trip. Nice little triangle of Tennessee, driving over across 40 and getting off there at Rockwood, bringing 27 all the way down the CNO&TP, and then picking 24 up there at Chattanooga and making the trip back home. So nice day. Left the house about 7 in the morning, got home right after 5. So nice full day of rail fanning out and about, and got to see some nice variety. So a great day out on the road, and hope you guys have enjoyed this video. guys have any questions at all about anything that we've seen here, or if you need a little bit more information about the line, or if there's anything we can help with, drop us a comment. If there's anything you'd like to see us do better, different in the future, or if you have any places you'd like to see us try to rail fan and put some video up for you, comment back on that as well. Definitely enjoy seeing all your comments. Thanks for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click on the thumbs up below to give us a like. Also, please click on the Rusty Boxcar logo on the right side of the screen to get a subscription to the channel. And send us a comment. Really enjoy reading all your comments, and I try to respond to each one of them. Thanks, and have a nice day.